Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Oner First Thoughts. This is the portion of our show that is spoiler-free, so if you want our spoiler in-depth review and thoughts, that'll be over on the channel soon, the full-length, longer version. This week we are talking about Masters of the Universe, directed by Travis Knight. This movie is finally hitting theaters after a 40-year-long journey of them trying to make this over and over and over again. It started out that they were just going to try to make a sequel to the 1987 film starring Dolph Lundgren that Kramer and I covered in an earlier episode this year on the channel. You can go watch that as well. We'll link that in the description of both this video and of the full-length video. But when that sequel fell apart, they were just trying to see, for decades, they've been passing this thing around to writers and directors, trying different tones, trying different approaches, pouring lots of money into development and never getting it across the finish line and actually getting it made until now. And I think there's a really good reason for that. Like, it's just hard material to adapt. It's hard to make a movie that works out of this source material. The 1987 movie doesn't particularly work. I like it for nostalgic reasons, but going back and watching it, it was like, yeah, this movie's like, it's just a Star Wars ripoff, and like a pretty lazy one. And it's a very self-serious movie in a really weird way. There's still a lot about that movie I enjoy just because I grew up on it, but like, I get why it's really hard for them to make a bankable Masters of the Universe film and why it took this long. And so I give Travis Knight and the creative team behind this film a lot of credit for making something that's going to work for a lot of people. It's going to be good enough to satisfy a decent amount of people who go and watch it. It didn't fully work for me, but it felt to me like Mattel was trying to do, they were trying to sort of hit all of the same tonal chords as they did with the Barbie movie, and all it did to me was sort of reaffirm how rare of a film the Barbie movie is. Like how difficult the task was in front of Greta Gerwig to make that film, and you know, the script that Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach wrote, because there's no actual source material beyond a line of toys. Both Barbie and Masters of the Universe and He-Man started as action figures first. It wasn't like a cartoon first. It wasn't a book first. It wasn't a comic book first. It was a line of toys first. There have been cartoons based on these properties over the years, so there's sort of an established lore and there's some world building that has taken place, but primarily, the world of Eternia and the world of Barbie exist in the imaginations of kids who grew up playing with those toys. And that sort of means that, like, the adaptation is wide open. You can kind of do this however you want. You just need to pick a direction and commit to it. And that's what Barbie does so well, is it both feels accurate to the experience of playing with Barbie dolls, and it feels accurate to what the Barbie world would look like inside of the imagination of a young girl or a young kid playing with Barbies. But it's also just like a really funny movie. And I think that their commitment to the humor, their commitment to being like, we are going to go in this really slapstick, broad, humorous direction, while also making this like not so subtle social commentary, but not being like overly saccharine or self-serious about the commentary, still allowing the humor to take center stage. It's just, the tone balance and the commitment is what works there, and that's what doesn't work with Masters of the Universe, is they're trying all of the same things that Barbie was doing. They're trying to make a He-Man movie that feels like it was born out of the imagination of a little kid playing with his action figures. They're trying to make a movie that is self-aware and funny and doesn't take itself too seriously and is having a good time, and they're also trying to like hit all of these emotional beats that feel kind of unearned and take too long at times and happen in the middle of action sequences and completely derail the pace. And then they're also trying to make a social commentary about masculinity. And each individual element here almost works. Like each the humor, the commentary, the serious stuff, the playfulness of like the colorful playing with my action figures thing. It has like flashes where it almost works, but a lot of different writers collaborated on this, and I could really feel that personally. Again, this is really going to work for some people. Some people are going to go, I loved that movie. That was so fun. I loved how colorful it was. I loved that they just went with the original toy designs for the characters and they didn't feel like they needed to like make them gritty or grounded or more like a movie and more like real life. They just let it be what it is. And I did like that element too. Let's talk about the Jared Leto of it all really quick. Just general thoughts. I think people love to hate on Jared Leto for good reason. I think there are a lot of good reasons to not like Jared Leto the person, but I think that because of that, people are being a little bit dishonest when they talk about his performance in this movie. Everyone's talking about how he's like really bad in the movie. At least I've seen a lot of people talking about that, and I'm just like, I don't think people are being honest. Like, he's the best actor in the film. If you didn't know it was Jared Leto, you would not be able to guess. And you would be watching the movie going, who's playing Skeletor, because that person is eating it up. And I'm not saying that to be like that. Do not mistake me praising Jared Leto's performance as Skeletor for me defending Jared Leto the person or anything that he's done that you disagree with. I'm just saying it was a fun performance. It was the most fun I've seen him have maybe ever with a role. Like, again, I thought the voice work was really strong. I feel like if no one told me it was Jared Leto, I never would have guessed in a million years. I feel like, yeah, it worked. And there were I like Nicholas Galitzine as He-Man enough. I just feel like the movie is kind of embarrassed to be what it is. Like, the script just can't pick which tone it wants to lean into. And I feel like if the script had just really committed to letting this thing be just really funny and have a really consistent comedic voice, there's a joke at one point where this is our non-spoiler version, but this doesn't really spoil anything. Skeletor says something like, "You are but worms beneath my feet," and another character says, "Did he just call us butt worms?" And Kramer and I both talked about in our full-length edition of the show about how that was a line that got us both to laugh, but it was like it also was a line that didn't blend with the comedic tone of the other jokes, and it's like, that's the kind of, like, you need to have a consistent voice, and that's what Barbie has that this movie doesn't have. This movie has a lot of different writers writing in a lot of different styles and telling jokes in different styles, and it's just a lot of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And when you do that, some of it will stick and some of it won't, and so it's a pretty just uneven watch for me. Those are my general thoughts. We get more into it on the channel. I'm going to toss it over to Kramer now. Take it away, my dude.
Oh, thank you, Austin. All right, here are my spoiler-free first thoughts on Masters of the Universe. First of all, I really enjoyed this movie. It's a lot of fun. Okay, you can't expect too much from it. It's a good time at the movie theater. My theater that I went to, the theater crowd was great. You know, people were laughing, people were kind of talking, but it was all very much a part of the experience. There's a lot of really great stuff that you can like in this movie. The visuals are fun. The action was great. I thought the action was a lot of fun. Visual effects look good. I really enjoyed this movie. I think it's a lot of fun. It does have its problems. Sometimes it was a little too fun. Like, sometimes the jokes weren't really landing, or they would kind of undercut the emotional parts of the movie. I mean, for me personally, I was hoping that they would lean into the cheesiness of the original cartoon and kind of just the whole storyline, just kind of lean into it and have fun with it. And they did kind of, but they also were trying to justify some of it. They were kind of like I'll go into this more in my spoiler review with Austin, but they kind of tried to make fun of it a little too much. But again, it was still fun. I still enjoyed it, but it did undercut the emotional parts of it, which I thought could have been a little bit stronger. It's too long, in my opinion. They could have definitely shaved off 20 minutes. I think that would have made it, a lot more of a fun ride. I think that also the pacing was a little off. Like I said, some of the jokes weren't really landing. But overall, honestly, that was kind of my expectation. But going into it, I wanted to have fun, and I had a lot of fun. Could it have been better? Yeah. Could it have been worse? Oh yeah, could have been way worse. So this is a fun movie. I think honestly, you should go see it in the theater. It's a good time. You'll have fun. You'll enjoy yourselves. And I have to say, the most surprised that I was at Skeletor and Jared Leto. I mean, I'm going to get into this with Austin, but man, he was hilarious. Like, I really liked the performance, and we had talked about this. I wasn't sure how Skeletor was going to talk. They pulled it off. They made it work. His teeth do kind of move in ways that teeth don't move in, but but it worked. Like, and I really, really love the performance. Now, Jared Leto has not the best track record, and this is kind of falling in line with that. But he does a great job in this. I really enjoyed him kind of the most of all. Some great stuff in here. Everything, there's a lot to like in this movie. Go out, see this movie with your friends, have a good time, and enjoy the ride, because that's really what they were going for. And I think for the most part they succeeded. So you're going to have a good time as compared to the 87 version. Me and Austin will get into that, but let us know what you think in the comments. Tell us what you thought of the movie. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What were you expecting? Did you want something different? Let us know. We'll start a conversation. Check out our full spoiler review that will be coming out soon, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks.